Sponsorem programu jest Tauron, sprzedawca instalacji fotowoltaicznych.
Good morning and welcome to Grudziądz, a new venue for the TAURON Speedway Euro Championship and a big night ahead, the second round of the 2024 series and plenty of questions to answer. Can Andrzej Lebedev build on his sensational victory in round one and extend his lead overall? Will we see the likes of Mikkelsen, Janowski and Dudek come fighting back here in Poland? And we have something new, an Australian wildcard. Max Frick, can he win on his home Extraliga track? The action gets underway at 8 PM. Join us here in Grudziądz.
Good evening and welcome from Grudziądz, where we are ahead of the second round of TAURON Speedway Euro Championship 2024. My name is Marcin Usual. I'm your host and I'm joined by Simon Morlenko and David Rowe. Hello guys, how are you today?
Good, nice and warm. It's cooled off a little bit, the sun's gone down now, so it's nice.
No issues getting here to Poland?
I think Dave's probably got the more.
There was an interesting day yesterday, we know about that. We were slightly delayed, well, 5 hours or so, but glad to make it and we got a great day for it.
Yeah.
What about you, Sam?
Yeah, it was, you know, we spent a lot of time in the lounge yesterday at the airport, but once we got here last night, settled in our hotel, beautiful place, and the sun's shining, everything's green, it's a nice cool breeze now, ready for action.
Is this your first time here in Grudziądz?
You know, we discussed that a bit, and I was just talking with Milik from Czech Republic, and he was telling me that this place has changed over the years, and I have been here years ago. And I think it was probably in the 90s or some point I came here. But the track was different, more narrower than it is today. And but I don't really have any memories of it, so there we go.
So it's kind of weird because you wait for Bydgoszcz. That's only an hour away from Grudziądz.
Yeah, and it's, you know, I don't know why, when, and how, but I think I was here in an open meeting. It wasn't so much in the Liga or any of that stuff. But yeah, I do recall it. I do recall the building. I remember certain things about it.
David, obviously this is the first time that Speedway Euro Championship has arrived here in Grudziądz. This is the biggest event that Grudziądz has ever held. The second time this season after Debrecen, and then for the third and fourth round we go to places we know well, Gistrow in Germany, and then Chorzów, which is Śląski Stadium. Which is the most interesting track in your opinion this season?
Personally, I always enjoy coming to new venues, and we mentioned in Debrecen the good thing about this series is we don't go to the same 4 tracks every year, so we have a nice balance here. We have 2 new ones, and then we go back to Gistrow, which is always very popular indeed, and then Chorzów, good to be back there after 5 years. So I'm really looking forward to this one because I've seen several Extraliga meetings on television from this venue. I think it's a good racetrack. I think that we should see an open and even contest, so this should be good. And then of course Gistrow always can throw up a surprise or two. So these next 2 are going to be very important for setting out that series overall.
We'll talk about the track in a minute, but I want to let you guys know how we got here with the first round in Debrecen, which I think was pretty interesting.
It was definitely different. It was a big track. They suffered with the sunshine, which meant that the conditions, the track creators had to put some water down. There was a little bit of material. And I think, you know, looking back at it, I think the track could have been a little bit different for the racers. But there was a winner at the end of it all. And Andrzej Lebedev from Latvia ended up cleaning it up at the end. And, you know, that put him in a good position. And he's, as we know, he's won this series before but never won one of the rounds. So whether it's an omen that he's going to break, and maybe tonight would be a second good chance for him to score more points.
Andrzej Lebedev was phenomenal in Hungary. 17 points out of 18 points maximum. Let's throw it back and see how the first round of SEC went this year.
The opening round of the TAURON Speedway Euro Championship gave us plenty of surprises, with 2017 champion Andrzej Lebedev winning in Debrecen and scoring a massive 17 points. It was his first ever victory in a round of SEC. In 5 of the last 6 years, the title has been won by either Mikkelsen or Leon Madsen, but both Danish riders now find themselves some way behind the leader. Mikkelsen did pick up 10 points, leaving him 7 adrift of Lebedev's, but Madsen scored just 5, and he now has lots of work to do. and they weren't the only riders to find the going tough in Hungary, as two former Grand Prix stars, Anders Thompson and Piotr Pawlicki, also failed to make the final, and they both come to Grudziądz with 9 points. It was a good performance by Maciej Janowski. He was excluded after a crash with Pawlicki in his first ride, but he did make the final, where he came close to a win over Lebedev's. Janowski finished second with 12 points overall, and Patrick Dudek scored 10, although he was frustrated by crashing out on the first lap in the final. At this stage, it's still too early to count anybody out, but with Lebedev setting such a fast pace and having 17 points already, tonight's meeting is crucial for everyone who wants to become the Speedway Euro champion.
Andrzej Lebedev and Maciej Janowski put on a fierce fight in that final. David, was it one of your favorite finals?
Absolutely. That was a tremendous race and really the highlight of the meeting, and I think we thought that Janowski had got it, and then he made that small mistake which allowed Lebedev to come back through. That could be really important because there's 2 point swing on that, and he's now got a 5 point lead over Janowski and even more on the rest. Obviously, Jakub Torsel came third as a reserve, so he's not racing here tonight. So Lebedev's in a good situation. If he can score more big points tonight, that will set him up very nicely indeed. 17 on any track is very impressive, and the way he rode was absolutely superb.
What about 5 points difference between him and Maciej Janowski? Is this a lot?
You know, in this time and age, you'd like to think that's a little bit of a cushion, but you got to still be on your game, don't you? Anytime there's it's only 4 rounds, and you know every race counts. They've got 1 down, there's 3 more to go. You've already mentioned that, you know, Gustraw's coming up. That's a track that's going to be very difficult for a lot of the riders because there's no set real race pattern around there. This one right here, we've already mentioned that it might be more conventional kind of a track, a bit small for a lot of the big tracks. And yeah, that 5 points is real important. He's just got to be able to get out of that start now and make sure he keeps scoring more points.
I actually talked to Andrzej Lebedev, and the interesting thing he said was that Grudziądz reminds him of Daugavpils as a track, but not when it comes to geometry, but the material itself. Is this any sort of advantage for tonight?
Well, you would think so. If that's how he feels about it, that's a plus in himself. He's not going to be thinking about, you know, it's going to be a difficult place. It's going to be familiar ground if he's putting it to, you know, the way it was there. This surface might be decent for him. He's got to make good start. And he's probably saying that more than anything because it's a long way to the first corner, the way the track looks to me. And that's kind of the way Daugavpils is as well. You got to get out of that start and go. And at Daugavpils, you got to hold the inside line a lot. And there is 4 corners. And this track, if you look at it and study it, looking from the top down, there's 4 almost turns exactly. So that's probably what resembles it.
So obviously we can hear the practice run for riders, and I'm sure we can expect a slick track considering the weather conditions and what we usually see here in Grudziądz. But like David mentioned, racing here has been pretty good in recent years in Extraliga. Not this year, though, considering the situation of Grudziądz. They're battling for staying in Extraliga. What should we expect tonight as far as racing and overtaking here?
I think from overtaking point of view, that will depend on who's making the fastest starts. And if we see Lebedev's doing what he did last time out, he'll be difficult because he's now a top performer. He's obviously just back from injury, had a few weeks out, but he's back in okay from that. And he was riding in the Speedway Nations last weekend as well. But I think it's really important for riders. We mentioned we saw Leon Madsen there in the earlier clip, had a really tough time in the last round. Had a fantastic night last night in Extraliga, so he's going to be in form. He's going to be trying to chase and pick up points. Somebody is going to have to take the challenge to Andrzej Lebedev and score some big points. And whether that is gating or passing, they're going to have to find some consistency.
So Jakub Torsel scored big points in Debrecen. I'm sure his number was a lot of help considering how he started after grading every single time with the number 1. Patrick Dudek is here tonight with number 1. Is he a good gator according to Sam Ermolenko?
I think Patrick needs he's probably better off on the track that's got a little bit more dirt on it and probably tougher for a lot of the other components when it comes to the grip sections of the tracks. And I don't know the experience of the thing. From what I'm hearing, though, this track probably won't produce a lot of dirt. And if he is riding in that number 1 position, which is going to get a track grade every time, he's going to have to deal with the watering. We can see straight away there's a lot of dust coming from the practice out there. So they're going to have to keep the water on the track, and that might be a disadvantage to him. But then again, that's, you know, the luck of the draw, and you got to make every disadvantage an advantage. somehow in your own mind.
I should also say that Dudek was really unlucky in the final in Debrecen. He wasn't happy either afterwards. He was the victim of they watered the track before the final. They delayed it a bit because I think they knew they put a bit too much water on. It still caught him out from the outside when he had made a good start, and he had some strong words to say afterwards. But I think overall it was a good performance, and he's certainly in that battle.
Patrick Dudek is very unlucky for sure. Last night he lost one of his favorite engines. As far as I know, he was going to use it here tonight. How big of a blow is it for a rider? So?
You know, your rider really does rely on his fleet of equipment, and if he's got a favorite bike and it's not going to be here for him, he's got to go out there and find a second favorite bike now. You know what I mean? And that's what he'll probably be working on. Yeah, that's difficult. Only time will tell now. At the end of this meeting, I'll tell you what I think. But, you know, that's probably what he'll probably be saying as well.
We talk a lot about the Debrecen and Grudziądz. A lot of things happen in between, considering those 5 weeks, including Speedway of Nations, with Nerik Bladern scoring big points both in Zone 2 and a senior version of Speedway of Nations. What do you think of him? Because I know, David, you watch him closely in Britain, where conditions are usually rougher for riders. This is not what he gets, I assume, in Great Britain.
Yeah, he's taken a step forward this year, there's no doubt. It's his third year, I think, with Bellevue, racing in the main body of the team. He's been at reserve in the past as well, holding down that position for a Bellevue team who are very strong around the National Speedway Stadium, not so good away from home, but he's had some good performances. In fact, he had one very good one at Birmingham, against Sam's Birmingham, when he was guesting one night. I think he's taken a big step forward this year, and he was very impressive in the Speedway of Nations, certainly in the main event. For Germany to finish ahead of both Poland and Denmark is a big story in Speedway, and so you have to say that both Bladern and Hülkenberg did very well there.
For sure, that's a great success for German Speedway, finishing 4th. Speaking of Birmingham, Piotr Pawlicki is here tonight. He got a crush.
He did.
On Wednesday.
Yes.
In Sweden.
Yes.
At Piraterna.
Yes.
Did you get a chance to talk to him?
Yes, absolutely I did. I went straight up to him whenever he made himself known in the pits, and he showed me his injury on his hand, and it is still black and blue from the thing, but nothing seems to be broken.
Is it left or right hand?
It's the right hand, on the throttle hand. So for him, we watched him practice as well. He went out there and he did 4 laps consistently. He pulled off before the end of the practice session was over, but he didn't look like he was rubbing his hand or anything. But looking at it from the injury, I'd say that he's probably a little bit early, and we'll have to see if he's going to be able to want to perform after he's done his practice.
David, what about your perspective on Polish riders? Do they have advantage here tonight, considering the fact that we usually see Speedway Euro Championship tracks prepared differently than what the riders see at league meetings? Yeah,
I'm not really sure they do tonight. I think when we've looked at the way the Danes have dominated this series over the years gone by, that would tend to suggest the Poles don't have the advantage, and we're sort of still waiting for Dudek to win a round of the Speedway Euro Championship, or Kasper Verina to do the same thing. Janowski, we think he's going to be challenging to win the series, so he needs a big result. But whether they have any advantage, I'm not so sure they do. We have riders here who have done well here in the past, and of course, Grudziądz have been here in this league for a number of years. So all the top riders have raced here normally once a season. Although I believe Leon Manson has not been here this season, and it was very early last season when he rode here, of course, for Denmark. But for the Poles, I don't think this track probably gives them the advantage you might expect at some of the other bigger circuits.
See, I'm talking about home turf advantage, because there is one rider in the lineup with a wild card who's been racing here for 2 years. But he's not from Europe. Max Frick got a wild card for second round of Speedway Euro Championship this season. Let's hear from Max.
It's the first time the TAURON Speedway Euro Championship has ever been opened up to a rider outside of Europe, with the wild card here in Grudziądz being awarded to Australian racer Max Frick. This series has always been prepared to try new ideas. In this case, it means one of the sport's top names joins the field, and as he's racing on his home track in Poland, it has to be good news for the event. Frick is a class rider with 2 Grand Prix wins to his name. His inclusion means the series develops further. We've had plenty of worldwide interest in recent years, and tonight the Australians will be right behind Frick, hoping he can make an impression. It's an exciting development. In previous seasons, we've seen 2 riders win a round of the SEC as a wild card: Krzysztof Kasperdak in Goryczan back in 2013, and Jarek Hampo in TAURON 4 years later. So can Frick become the 3rd here tonight in Grudziądz?
So, gentlemen, speaking of Max Frick, first of all, I think he's getting better as he progresses. I know he won 2016 Under-21 World Championship, but I'm sure you watch him closely at Leicester, and he was at Bellevue before. Do you see the progress, or am I just imagining things?
Well, from my point of view, Max Fricks has grown into a really stable rider. I watched him in Australia when I was there over the wintertime, and he didn't win the Australian Championship, but he was one of the top contenders. And he threw everything at it, but he didn't succeed. But, you know, I think he got second overall at the end of it all. But, you know, that's right there is an achievement in itself, and he's growing. And for him to be involved in this here today, you said that these track conditions could be different than Liga racing conditions. Well, whether he can adapt to them quicker than anybody else, or if he's familiar with the way the conditions are today, he'll definitely be a top guy here tonight.
I have a wild opinion on Aussies in Speedway. I'm just going to throw it at you.
Go.
So I think that plenty of Aussies develop or fulfill the potential later than European riders or American riders. Considering the fact that there is not a lot of racing in Australia. We met in Brisbane at Darcy's event, and there's only a few events over the winter, no league meetings. You need to pay, you need to drive for a couple of hours to get to the nearest venue, and then they come to Europe, like Benjamin Cook, Max Frick. Jason Doyle started his career in Speedway Grand Prix really late. Would you agree with that theory?
If you're looking at the stats, you're probably right. But they do start them young in Australia. They have the opportunity because even though it's so spread out, they have a lot of dirt. And fathers and people that are interested in starting Speedway can build a track in their back gardens, and they can get around there and spin laps on them. It's getting that European kind of flavor into their program that's hard. So when they come here, they got to adapt to the European style of racing, and that might be a late developer compared to what you just said about, you know, the Polish riders will be born here and race on these tracks and grow up here, where Australians got to come in and learn that. And once they've learned that, that's experience. And same in Britain. A lot of the riders are now going back to Great Britain and racing there because the tracks are technical and a little bit more difficult, and they're different. And getting that kind of ingredients in your program, I think, helps you as a better rider.
David, let's talk about the wildcard itself. First time in history, someone outside of Europe is considered one of the riders only as a wildcard, not for the rest of the season. What do you think about it?
I think, as I mentioned in the package we've just seen, it's an interesting development. It adds to this meeting. Obviously, he's a home rider, so the home crowd will have something to attack. And as far as the series is concerned, yes, Speedway Euro Championship, he will score points tonight, obviously. Many points we expect, but it's a fair playing field because the regular members of the series, they've all got to race against him. So yes, he'll take points off some, but it will be an equal contest. And I think it's an interesting development, and he will add to the meeting. There's no doubt about that. He's a rider who, well, you said how good he is. I would put him certainly in the world's top 10. Technically very good. A good starter, and also a very clever rider as well. I'm looking forward to watching him and seeing his battles. I was watching him on Thursday night, battling with Emil Saifuddinov around Leicester, and they had 4 races, 4 very, very good races, and we should see more tonight with the likes of Matsianovsky and Lebedev and Dudek and so on.
Obviously, the first time in the history of Speedway Euro Championship, but I think it's sort of a throwback to what we had back in the 70s with European final as a qualifying round for Speedway World Final in order to win a World Championship.
Like
and then it switched to Intercontinental. Yeah. I'm sure you raced in Intercontinental with Aussies, Europeans, and Americans. So step in the right direction?
You know, it's a question that we both discussed it on our travels here because we had lots of time to talk about different things. You know what I mean? So, you know, we're thinking, wow, Max Frick's in it. So that opens up the door now, huh? So maybe in the future there could be possibly Americans and somebody else in here. And whether it should be. But it is a European championship. So throwing a Nazi in, is it the right move? Yeah, I don't know that.
The debate has been, of course, it's the last few years that we've now had a Grand Prix place available for the winner of the Speedway Euro Championship. So if you are Australian or American, you are saying, okay, so the Speedway Euro Championship gets a wild card, but there's no opportunity for us other than the other qualification routes. So I don't know. It will be interesting to see how today goes and where it goes beyond that. But it's interesting.
Obviously, we get to see Max Frick in the GP series this season due to Jason Doyle injury. He was the first reserve of the series. But he lost the spot in the series.
Should
he be?
I thought he was very, very unlucky. Yeah. I would certainly put him in the world's top 10.
Is unlucky the best word, Dave?
No, I mean, yeah, unfortunate. Whatever word you want to use. he is good enough to be a Grand Prix rider, as he showed when he came in as first reserve. So, yeah, absolutely. He's good enough, and I have no doubt he'll be in the Grand Prix next year.
We're looking forward to an American in the series, Sam. So if you spot someone in California,
yep, there we go. There's a lot of them still learning how to be as good as anybody in the world right now, you know. But you know, we're trying. We're lack of some of the top stars, but hopefully they're coming.
I have a few guys from California were here at the Extraliga camp. That's long ago in TAURON, also an hour drive from here. Let's talk about Leon Madsen, and we'll see a short clip about, well, the legend of the sport here at Speedway Euro Championship.
Leon Madsen is a double TAURON Speedway Euro Championship winner, taking the title in 2018 and then again in 2022. During his time in the series, Madsen has set plenty of records. The Dane has won 11 rounds in total. That's well clear of Nicky Pedersen and Emil Seifudenov on 5. He's also made 21 finals. Again, that's the most in history, with Pedersen next on 14. Last year, Madsen finished 8 points behind the champion Mikkel Mikkelsen, and the main reason for that was what happened in round 2 at Grudziądz, when he scored just 4 points. It was a totally uncharacteristic performance, and it ruined his hopes of a third title. Nobody has been more consistent than Madsen in the SEC, so the opening round in Debrecen was also a major surprise. He didn't score in his first 2 rides. He ended the meeting with 5 points, and that leaves him 12 behind Andrzej Lebedev's, and with a mountain to climb. The only good news for Madsen is there are still 3 rounds to go. He was the last rider to score an 18-point maximum when he was unbeaten in Horzów in 2018. He now needs more displays like that to give himself any chance of once again challenging for Speedway Euro Championship gold.
Leon Madsen, last night, I'm sure you watched the meeting in Lublin when he beat Bartosz Marslik on his home turf. Fantastic performance of Leon Madsen this year in Extraliga, second best average after Bartosz Marslik. But what about Speedway Grand Prix and the first round of Debrecen? What do you make of it?
There's been so much going on behind the scenes, and we've seen a lot of it in the media. Actually, we talked about him briefly, and he'd been speaking about personal matters without going into too much depth when we were in Debrecen 6 weeks ago. Since then, a bit more's come out in the media, and we know what's been going on. It's got to have had an effect, but as you say, he's kept his Extraliga performances very consistent indeed. The 5-point total in round 1 was a real surprise. I don't quite know what went wrong there. I guess the good news is it was round 1. He's still got 3 meetings to go. Surely, with the form that you've mentioned from last night, 16 points from 6 rides on the most difficult away track, given the strength of Lublin, he goes into this in good form, and I think he'll be right up there. He's going to need some of those really big scores, and to hope that Lebedev's doesn't get double figures. But if that happens in the next 3 rounds, then he's still got a chance. I would say he's up against it, but he's still got a chance.
Sam, so obviously it's very difficult to pick yourself up after a performance like Leon Madsen had in Debrecen. But on the other hand, if you're Leon Madsen, you look in the mirror and you say, "I can do it. I can bring it back."
He's got the past record of doing it, you know, and I'm sure that he would love to have you know, a third title on his belt for this competition, no doubt about it. You know, anytime you're down the bottom, you pick yourself back up. You know, that's what us racers are about. You don't let too many things get you down, but when it does get you down, it piles up on you. There's always one way to go, and that's up. So I think the guy's going to have a fair chance here tonight, and I would never bet against him.
David, let's talk Danish Mafia. So Anders Thompson, there's obviously Mikkel Mikkelsen, the 3-time European champion, and Rasmus Jensen. They had a chance here early in the season. Well, practice is a bad word because he was a European final for the national team, but who do you think is going to be the best out of Danes tonight?
Mikkel Mikkelsen is high up in the Grand Prix standings. He is Denmark's top rider statistically this year in that sort of competition, and we know what he can do in this series. 3-time champion. And what happened with Denmark in the Speedway of Nations and the 3 riders that we've mentioned, Mikkelsen, Rasmus Jensen, Anders Thompson, and what happened in the final is a complete mystery. I don't understand. It went wrong right from the start. Why it was so bad for them, I do not know. Mikkel Mikkelsen, 10 points from the first round. I think he has the potential to score more than that here tonight. We've seen him win rounds before, and again it's trying to catch up some of those, or all of those 7 points on Lebedev's. I would make him a strong favourite here tonight.
One last thing before we wrap up our studio. There are riders coming back to the lineup. people we expected, people we wanted to see this season. Unfortunately for Dimitri Berger and Janusz Kołodziej, we weren't able to see them in Debrecen. What can they bring to the table tonight, Sam?
To me, this is a Janusz track. This is a track that he'll perform well on. And I think there needs to be a little bit more dirt, I'd say, for the Frenchman to go out there and do work on it. But if he's making starts, he can steal points from everybody. I think it's wide open. You know, we've described pretty much all the riders in one way or another where, you know, we've had Jakob Torsil come and steal some points away from the series. And now we got Mac Fricks possibly stealing some points away from the series when it comes down to the overall results. And, you know, a rider that's had a bad one like Madsen's had a bad one, and some of these guys that missed out, they got to think, okay, we still got a chance because those riders aren't going to be here next time and they're not going to take any more points on. So mathematically, you're always thinking there's still a chance. It's still young, second round.
Only second out of 4 rounds.
That's
in
it.
August, we moved to Giesdorf, Germany, and then obviously the grand finale of the season in Horseshoe. But let's watch a short clip about Janusz Kołodziej.
Round 2 of the TAURON Speedway Euro Championship sees a welcome return for Janusz Kołodziej, who missed the opener in Hungary due to injury. Incredibly, that's the second year in succession that he has suffered that misfortune. Polish star finished second overall in 2022, just behind champion Leon Madsen, but last year he was on the sidelines when the series got underway in Częstochowa as Madsen and Mikkel Mikkelsen scored 16 and 15 points to take control at the top. Kołodziej came back superbly with a brilliant victory at Grudziądz, scoring 17 points in the process. He also won at Pardubice in a meeting cut short by heavy rain, and remarkably, despite only racing in 3 out of 4 rounds, he scored enough points for 3rd place overall, only 2 behind Madsen and 9 clear of 4th place. History now repeats as once again in 2024, Kołodziej finds himself playing catch-up and having won 4 of his last 6 rounds in the SEC. He's shown what he can achieve, so let's see if he can still put himself in the fight for a medal or even the title itself.
Missed out on the first round in 2023 season and still managed to win a bronze medal. Will history repeat this season, David?
I think he's got a chance. No reason why not. As I say, if you're going to miss a round, I suppose the first one is the best one to miss. You've still got 3 more to try and catch up. And the way the points were allocated in round 1, with the one rider scoring 17 Lebedevs, that means that several others didn't get the 13s and 14s they might have been hoping for. So yes, he's going to need 3 very good ones once again, but he's a class rider. We've seen the last 3 or 4 years what a good rider he is. As Sam said, we think he'll suit this track. We think he'll enjoy racing here. If he gets double figures, then he can put himself right in the mix again.
I will agree that it's a track that suits Janusz Kołodziej, as he loves to go long straight and he's really fast. But there's one more aspect to it. He suffered an injury here in May. He only managed to race in 1 meeting that was 2 weeks ago in Zielona Góra. He's making his comeback to the sport. What's happening in a rider's head when he's coming back to the track where he suffered an injury that excluded him for 2 months, 3 months?
I gotta only think about myself on that one because other riders psychologically might have a little different opinion on it. But yeah, it's never a doubt. You know, once you put that helmet on and the start's in front of you, you forget about all that. You just race. I don't think that will be on his mind at all.
David?
I'd have to agree, other than the fact I haven't ridden a bike and won't intend to. I think if you're going to ride one of these things, I think obviously getting injured is unfortunately part of the game. If you're then fit to come back, I think if it happens to be on the track that you were hurt on, as long as there weren't circumstances, bad track preparation or something, I don't think that'll be in your mind at all. I think these things happen in the sport, and you have to go back. You have to ride all these tracks at some stage. So get back on it, and the best thing you can do is come back here tonight and win.
One of the aspects of Grudziądz track is that it's very narrow. We say that those are long straights and pretty long track. It used to be longer, 20 meters longer, and now it's 355 meters. But when it's narrow, it's also tighter between riders.
I think it's the 4 corners I mentioned at the top of this show. When you're going down the straightaway, there's a turn, and then it kind of goes, and there's another turn, and that squareness of the corner makes it bottleneck. So everybody kind of comes together there, and then it opens up, and then comes back together. So that's the trick of the track. And the most important thing is get a start and get out in front of it if you can. But if the track's a little bit hard to ride, or the guys don't got the right setup, they might not be able to keep that pace, and it makes probably for better racing, guys can get in there. So, there's 2 ways of looking at it, really.
So where I was getting at with it is the accident Janusz Kołodziej had here aside, let's put it aside. But if it's tight and narrow, how will he feel after not racing for 2 or 3 months when he's getting close to someone? Do you not lose the feeling of the bike and someone right next to you?
I think in this game, us riders rely on professionalism. You know, you give an inch and you take an inch. These guys are both, whoever's in that race chasing that one spot on the racetrack are all thinking that, well, okay, you beat me or you just got me. Yeah, if somebody makes a foul and knocks you down, that's just bad luck. But you can't think that way if you want to be a speed rider.
Very professional of you, Sam. Sam Ermolenko, David Rowe, our lovely commentators. Make sure you join them at 8 p.m. Central Eastern Standard Time on our pay-per-view instructions down below. Make sure you follow them. Or if you're watching us from Romania, Latvia, Hungary, or Poland, you get to see it on TV. If you like to watch it on pay-per-view, make sure you do it. There's plenty of time to get it, and it's really, really easy. You can watch it on your laptop or your TV or your phone. We'll see you there at 8 p.m. Actually, 5 minutes before 8. Gentlemen, get some water. It's going to be really hot and intense here, I'm sure. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you, Stacey. Thank you.
Sponsorem programu był Tauron, sprzedawca instalacji fotowoltaicznych.